listening to that.
They don't know any better.
Come on. Come on, say something meaningful.
What do you want me to do?
No, I don't. You're right. There's nothing. Well, why don't you just play the Beach Boys?
All right.
Come on.
All right,
Why is Aurelius?
Okay.
Why is that
All right.
lecture
All
somehow hit you? Or hit
Because
them?
people want a fixed point within the chaos of life. And however much they may deny it, they still long for it, and they still worship it, they still venerate it. And no matter how much you shake your head, the more you are affirming this.
That's so true.
Which is what's so fucked up about this. So my point is...
But Nietzsche then would say, stop it.
Yeah,
and that's not enough. But he'd say, stop that. Stop
Look,
looking.
I read the son
Stop
of a
it. Stop it.
He's my pal. He's my second cousin. But he's wrong. And wrong in a really interesting, instructive way. That's why I think he's so great. I mean, why everybody should read him. In other words, what is it? Milton says in Areopagitica, I cannot praise a cloistered virtue. Well, I don't think that's true after that as well. I want virtue to go out and do stuff in the world. The difficulty is it lacks the Greek idea of enough. In other words, do you want more and more and more satisfaction of your desires? Or do you want to restrain your desires and say, this is enough? Well, here's the deal. This is enough can give you a stasis that will allow you to live like a human being. This is not enough, will completely fuck up your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how is love ever fit in that? Because it's not enough. That's the whole point of love. It's never
Love
enough.
requires-
And it's enough. So it's both. You live in the world because you have it, and you don't fill the set. It's a set that's an empty set.
Grow up. Love requires a restrained libido. If you worship your libido,
and that's
then
paradoxical.
all the alternatives are really great. But the problem is, of course, is that then you've entered the world of chaos. I translated a big chunk of Nietzsche's Gay Science when I was 23, which, God help us, is more than 40 years ago, before most of you were born. So here's the deal. Nietzsche is showing us that God is dead, God remains dead, and we have killed him.
So he hasn't killed anything. He's just showing us, right? It's dead.
No,
it's dead.
No, he didn't kill
dead.
it. He's telling
dead.
us like
We did it.
Like a seismograph telling us about an earthquake. We didn't feel it, but it happened.
Flatlining.
He
God
doesn't
is
cause
flatlining.
it, right? That's why people hate him so much. He didn't cause it. He was telling you, by the way, nobody believes in God anymore, right? Which really sucks.
Especially the priests.
Now, here's the deal. The reason why it really sucks is because it was the God's eye view that gave us the idea of capital T Platonic truth. If those of you who know Plato. So once you have the form of the true, the ultimately true thing, the problem is that you can't find that here in the real world. Right? Right. So there's no way to get to the final answer by means of logic. And that means once you get an indeterminate answer, you can answer it any way you want and be equally reasonable.
There are some things we want determinate answers to, aren't there?
I would think so.
Right.
I mean, that's a good point.
Right. Aren't there some?
Which things?
So that's the thing. Maybe not everything. In fact, maybe everything but one thing. And that's still but one thing, right?
I'm willing to hear it.
Right. That's what we're reaching for. So where's that but one thing? So you read Friedrich Nietzsche and you feel like, my God, the guy is like somehow only eating beef and should have gone to the salad bar or something. But there's just something where really you never fallen in love with a woman. You've never felt something that's
He probably hasn't.
Right. But that's exactly it. Like he's somehow deficient in his diet here. That, yeah, I get you, Freddie. I'm complete. Oh my God, I'm with you on everything. Every single thing. Maybe not quite Socrates, but everything else. And you didn't fall in love? So,
of course not.
So folks,
neither did Kierkegaard.
So we actually have Michael's daughter here, right? That there's not, it doesn't fit in anywhere. It's just love. And if you have a dearth of that, if there's somehow a deficiency in your diet of love, then you're going to end up as Nietzsche. And yeah, he's right. He's not to blame for anything except he doesn't know
maybe
love.
He's the most devout man
who's he talking
of the
about?
19th century, and maybe he sacrifices himself on the cross of atheism as a way of scaring the rest of us off, which is a totally dishonest and fucked up Nietzschean reading of this.
Well, plus, he's not scaring the rest of us.
Well,
He knows the herd. He's not talking to the herd.
That's
He's
the
not talking to
Nietzschean
the
point,
herd.
though. All right, all right. The fact that I'm lying is what makes it Nietzschean.
Right? He's not even talking to the herd. He's talking to the rest of us.
So, yeah, Nietzsche is some kind of intellectual mutation. Whether we want to include him or exclude him, and how we would go about doing either, which is, of course, quite an interesting question, is the heart of the gay science. Now, look, I love Nietzsche. When I was an undergraduate, I had 3 summers between the years of college. So I read all of Shakespeare, and then all of Plato, and then all of Nietzsche. I was going to be a professor, and I was going to plug stuff at some time. The fact of the matter is, I owe so much to him. I can't dismiss him the way I can a second-rater like Heidegger or Sartre.
Or even Schopenhauer.
He should get beaten too. In other words, no. There's a wonderful critic who says that Homer should get beaten, but also Archilochus as well. Those of you who know Archilochus know that he has a lyric poem with very few scraps remaining. And why you would beat him about this is very hard to determine, since one of the scraps, for example, from a whole poem is plums. So there it is, the Greek word for plums. And you're supposed to decide what you think of this poem. Right. This is what we call a hapax. Nobody knows what the fuck this is. Right? And that really sucks. Right? And there's not just stuff like that in the ancient world. There's stuff like that in the Bible, which really sucks. For those who would get all inerrantists and all that shit. On the other hand, it also exists in Mayan glyphs, but it also exists in Shakespeare.
Sure does.
I hate it when that happens, because you can't say that Shakespeare isn't referring to anything. So when he's the only person we know that made reference to a particular symbol, and the rest of us don't know what the fuck it is, we all guess on the basis of text, but no, since it's what we called a hapax logomenon, what that means is that it's the only example of this known symbol. And Wittgenstein, the great linguistic philosopher, would say, look, one action or one deployment of a symbol or of a rule just doesn't make any sense, because you could be doing anything. You could be writing a ticket because it's Thursday.
But it makes every sense.
Or because it's been a long it
makes every
too
sense.
long there,
No.
or because it's the wrong kind of car. Or the point is that you need a series of examples. Usually we go with 3 to show a pattern for a function. Now, the problem we have here is that there's only one example of this. So what should we think about? The problem is that the name for that It's hapax logomenon.
So what we can do is we make it a singularity. So we can actually step aside and at least can do that, right? And say that's singular, which is, again, so the scientists have a good move here, which is at least they can point to it and say, hey, you know what? That's singular. Don't know what to do with it, but at least we can point to all of them and put it in a structure, right?
That's what I want.
Right? We can do that.
Nobody likes science more than me. No, I just break their balls because I want them to step up. I think that was it. And do the right thing. But no, science is one of the greatest achievements of the human mind. Anybody who thinks differently is a damn fool.
I agree with that.
All right, so now let's do a last Nietzschean little move, which is
where are we?
Okay, so
go to 8.
I think Nietzsche is telling us something wonderful about us, which is that while we may not all do the proofs or understand all the move openings in all of chess or in all of Western culture, right? We may not. In fact, I'm tempted to say that you guys can't. I know I can't. And maybe one person, nobody that I've ever met could ever dream of doing that. Nietzsche reminds us, but we still get to be the Übermensch. And that part of it is the thing that no one else does, which is your unique love for other people. So there's only in your lives the people you meet intimately, tangentially, accidentally, and every one of those people you can treat well. You can somehow do something good for, or not make them any worse at least. And that you can do. And there you're exactly on par with Freddie. That's your creative part. That's your special part. That you, and don't accept the morality of the herd. You know better. You know what to do every time with every person you ever meet. And you don't have to prove it in the most famous footnote in the fucking world, or whatever that was you said earlier, by the Kantians. You don't have to do that. You still can do it. Yes, you still can do it, right? It is reasonable. It is, you can prove it, but you don't need to. That's the point. Live it, and you know that. And in that sense, you are engaged in the thing you can't say.
If I could follow up on that, if God is dead, then it's because we have killed him, in the sense that, like we were talking about piety and the song, "This Little Light of Mine, I'm going to Let It Shine." Like God, in a very real sense, manifests through us and our relationships with each other. And so if we look around and we don't see God in the world, it's because, he's not in us, or we haven't, kind of rolled back that boulder in our heart and have, let him out of the tomb there. But so I think that's kind of in line with what you're saying.
It seems God is anywhere. It's under some rock, right? I think Moses is saying God's under a rock. That's not very nice, is it?
Just from top to bottom. Okay. God teaches you how to love freely. He teaches you how to love without any expectation of anything back. That's what Jesus teaches us in the parable of the Good Samaritan, which is, I think, one of the greatest achievements of our species. When I look at everything we've done, I really like that. It's impressive. He doesn't give any crap about getting all rational and better than rational, any of that shit. He has just a regular guy saying, look, it's a shame that you got beaten up and hurt, and I will save your life by taking you to get some treatment. All right. You can teach that to a 6-year-old, and I have. And that's what it's there for. It's to teach people that are 6 and also, like me, is 65. Because it doesn't change. That's a fact. All right. In other words, I can get all loosey-goosey and postmodern with you. I know how to do all that shit. It's just that, here's the Kierkegaardian thing. I find it boring. Which is a really fucked up thing to do.
Well, is this kind of like at the end of your lecture, you said, Nietzsche is your pal, but you said you kind of outgrew him. Is that a little bit of what you're talking about?
Look, young men who are intoxicated by a self-supplied, powerful jolt of both testosterone and adrenaline are liable to write or think or read some fucked up stuff. Right? In other words, look, somebody asked me about the problem with cops moving too quickly towards deadly violence. And I put an example up there and I said, look, I feel for the guy because, look, when you're on a SWAT team and you hear somebody's got a long gun, I mean, I understand why he's crazy. But the problem is that Rambo here is really cranked up on adrenaline and testosterone. And to my mind, he makes a wrong decision and kills a man. Right? You can look through my things, but I think that he kills a man too quickly. And look, I don't want to be in judgment of him. I don't want to put the poor bastard in jail. If I had been there, I might have been shoot first, ask questions later. But the point is, it looks to me like a bad shooting. This is a problem that we can all, regardless of our religious tradition, find some way of talking about, like, we can't have this. This is no good. You can do it with Jesus. You can do it with Plato. You can do it with rationality. You can crank in John Stuart Mill. I don't care. You can see what I'm saying? What I care about is not the language you're using, because I've studied them. I have a rough idea of how they work. What I'm trying to get you to do is be careful about what you say, rather than the language in which you say it. And that's why Jesus is greater than Socrates. And you know that I don't like anybody better than I like Socrates, but he is. And I have the greatest admiration for Buddha and for Ashoka. I have the greatest admiration for Confucius and the Old Testament writers like Ezekiel and Isaiah. You know, there's somebody asked me somewhere along the line, who are my influences? So I told them. All right, it wouldn't harm you, any of you, to read some of those.
I just.
How about Madonna? Is Madonna one of your big influences?
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Hey, so I noticed the Glencairn glass. What's in it?
Good Scotch whiskey.
Do you mind sharing which one?
These are 20 to 30-year-old blends.
Mm-hmm.
So they're really beautiful. They're actually going to be given to the people at my funeral. I will ask my daughter to invite you when that time comes, but it's going to be a rip of a party. No, it is. I mean,
Right. Everybody's gonna be so excited. You're gone.
There we go.
What are you gonna say though? You're gonna say you owe
I told you what I'm going to say.
Brad a paperclip?
Fuck that.
What's your last line?
Come on, you know what I said.
I'll be trying to get a plane ticket.
Epitaph will be, no, you can do it
You'll deal with an
COVID way,
explanation.
on Zoom.
No
But
more
here's the deal.
contender.
My epitaph will be,
Sorry.
I don't know Asclepius Jack. Cock-a-doodle-doo.
It's terrific.
Right. The fact that you understand that means you're all fucked up. You're hopeless. Nobody can do anything for you. It's not my fault. And you, of course, you can't even form sentences.
But you agree that Nietzsche does not get it at all. He does not get it. Anyway, look, we say goodbye. Look, you're in charge here. I will see you next week, right? In our group. You read Crime and Punishment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's good for your brain.
I actually have a weird
It's
suggestion.
not fucked up
as well.
enough. It will be then.
Stupidly.
Does the ending make sense?
No. Right. That's what I was going to ask.
That's the basic answer.
Here's what I suggest. It's right. If you're going to read it this week, I was going to say the opposite, which is eat no food for 6 days and only drink Coke. Live in your basement. And then you'll get the book. Right?
Back of my hand.
Right. It's almost is.
Yeah.
Don't identify with Raskolnikov or Jellyman or
Marmalade should be killed.
Marmalade, yes,
You should be
Marmalade.
killed immediately.
Or Svid or Svid's Dream or any of that. Don't
He
do
runs
that.
America.
Right. Don't do any of that.
Yeah.
Rather, you've read now some responses to Descartes. You've read Nietzsche. I think you want to find here the feminine.
What the fuck are you talking about?
So there is an answer in this. Why did you?
I have no
So
idea
why
what
did you
you're
assign Dostoevsky last? It doesn't make sense. Nietzsche is the end of the course, yet you offered an epilogue. So you should
Right.
explain to our buddies.
But that tells
why
us
it's
more
there.
about you than it does about me. So, although I've violated the chronology, and I'm a
You
big
have.
fan of chronology, the reason why I did it is to argue that monotheism won't die. It hasn't died yet. I don't claim that it makes any sense. My point is it makes sense in everything.
All right, so that's Mike's view, but I don't buy it. So
I know,
I
of
think there's
course.
something much more.
That's why
going
you need to be slapped down.
Which translation should we read? Any preference?
The Douay Reims, because that's the Catholic Bible, and the point is this.
on. Constant Incarnate, I was going to
Well,
say.
no,
I didn't know you knew a translation of Crime and Punishment. You actually know there's a translation.
I do know
Holy shit.
more than one.
Sorry, guys.
All right, I've already assigned it. But the point is this, all right? I like the Douay Reims, not primarily because I'm a Catholic. And what I mean by that is that it's my first language. All right,
Russian?
everyone here has a first language.
Russian is your first language.
You didn't ask that. I'll give you this in the back of my
All
hand.
right.
All right. My point is that's my first language for talking about good and evil and right and wrong. Now, over the years, I've done a lot of study, and I have a nearly native understanding of Platonism. In other words, I can take that language and I can talk like somebody that was born there because I spent so much time with it.
But we're just talking about translation. We're not asking that kind of translation. It's just, I think, the language translation, not because you don't do ancient Greek. That I agree. I think actually, Mike, I'll give you my view on Platonism. I've read everything I possibly can, and I actually think that you're the forefront. There's no one past Michael. Actually, no one in the interpretation of the Platonic dialogues. But anyway, that's another point. You don't read ancient Greek. I think we're asking a different question. We're relaxed here, so we're having some.
I can hardly even read
Some scotch, which I don't drink, by the way. I don't drink scotch. I drink wine. I don't drink anything else.
You're lying.
So I'm feeling relaxed right now. So anyway, back to this. Don't worry about the translation. The translation doesn't matter. I think what you've got to get out of this is I think there is an answer to Nietzsche. And I think you're right that choosing Dostoevsky is a really interesting way of asking our friends to think about an answer, which they must have, to this fucked up thing.
Well, Dostoevsky must have an answer to the nihilism of Crime and Punishment. At first, we hear Raskolnikov's theory of the superior man or the extraordinary man,
Or the Übermensch.
which is, for those of us who've studied Kant, which is us awarding ourselves a pass on the categorical imperative.
Oh.
And Kant's point is that no one deserves a pass on this because this is what sorts out good and evil.
Yeah.
In other words, there's no nonsense. It's like a mathematical proof. And when you put it on that Cartesian XY coordinate paper, you look at where the solution set to this is, and there it is. There's nothing you can do about it. And that's its greatness. And it's also its
So is Nietzsche with Kant or with Raskolnikov?
Nietzsche's with both because he's not trying to make sense. It may be that the world doesn't make sense. How many of you took a very careful look at section 109 of the Gay Science? All right, just write it down. The point is this: the world is in all eternity chaos. But chaos is not knowable. It's the opposite of a cosmos, which the Greeks gave us. Are you sure you want to live in chaos? Because it's not a fact about the world. It's a choice that you make.
So, all right. So let's say you make that choice, by the way. You
That's
have.
sanity
You know
and
you
grace.
have. You've made the choice.
Yeah.
So what happens after you've made the choice? And I
Well-
know you have.
Then you achieve what I call sanity and grace.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know it's an old-fashioned
But you
way
make
of
the choice.
describing
You do
the
make the
best
choice. That's
human condition, but this is what I think. Fuck you.
That's right.
Right. I'm trying to be a Christian the best I
right.
can,
You got to make.
and
the
I
choice.
suck at it.
You got to make.
Okay. But I think that Jesus tells us stuff that no rational activity can reveal, which is a really fucked up thing, because what it means is that, like Euripides, we're all in agreement that reason has its limitations. We do not worship reason as the golden calf.
No.
Reason is a good servant and a bad master.
So let's work our way backwards. So there's your Euripides. So
That's
we're
it
talking,
for Greece.
sorry, 26 centuries. So let's start now, right? So great. No, Euripides forward. Now let's work our way backward. And working our way backward, we know if we want to do it in, let's do a playful kind of, I don't know, evolutionary biologic vocabulary. We have these huge left brains, right? And we're so precise. And we're so, right? I don't have to say anymore, right? So, right, so that Euripides, again, moving forward, this is what we want to remind ourselves, right? So there's all kinds of things that are in that other spot, that are in the universal, in the whole, in the intuitive. And certainly, looking now from the 21st century, we need to recover that, right? We need to bring that back. Otherwise, somehow we're going to get something that goes wrong. One of the hemispheres just eats up the other one. And the reason we have hemispheres is for that balance.
That's why the book about the...
Sorry, guys, but that's an evolutionary biological.
You've been reading the Gilchrist.
right, it's a great book.
Thank you.
I mean, it's a very powerful book. And
Are you the emissary or are you the master? Sorry.
the master and his emissary,
Absolutely.
I would recommend it to everyone.
Change the way I think.
I don't deny that that meat between our ears has some interesting and important relationship to our experience. I myself cannot accurately describe that.
So you haven't done the
Because-
brain imaging. You haven't done the MRI.
Well, let him do the brain
fucking
imaging.
shit, right.
I've already, look, I have friends and former students
Who
that
do
are
it.
now
That's right, you do.
neurologists.
Yeah.
I said, look, I'll give you my brain. You can have a look at it. Right?
right. Here's Einstein's brain.
I don't care. I'm going to die anyway. It doesn't matter to me.
It has to be embodied. That's
All right.
that's the problem. It has to be embodied.
No, it doesn't. You can get all dualistic,
No.
right?
No.
Dualism gives you a different set of problems. There are a horrifying set of problems that no one can solve.
I'll take those. I'll take all
All
those.
right.
I'll have
The
them.
alternative is to collapse them all into one world. And then you have the problem of how the seeing of red is this collection of synapses in your head. This is Chalmers' point, and it's deadly. I mean, in other words, we have an explanatory gap. It would be great if we could make subjectivity turn into objectivity, but the horrible thing about it is that means objectivity disappears.
So it'd be great.
I hate it when that happens.
It'd be great if we could have consciousness without bodies, but it turns out you die and we don't know what happens. So it turns out it is embodied, right? And that's the problem. It is. It is.
A friend of mine, who was a professor of biblical studies,
that's a problem.
Tom, he said that, and this is using, I guess, Christian language, if you want to put it that way, Dr. Sugrue, that the heavens and earth are not mutually exclusive from one another. Rather, they're intended to be overlapped on one another.
That's
and
right.
Human beings were created to stand in the middle space between them, which I think is a really beautiful idea.
It is beautiful.
And I think that's
Lovely.
exactly sort of what we see in Scripture.
Why were we created to do that?
Why are we created to do that? Because
Why
that gives us
I mean, I get it, but why
a
were
sense
we created to do that?
of being finished.
No, we were created to do that.
In other words,
I was.
it's built into
You
us
certainly were.
to long for completion.
And I'm just making the point that we don't have to have any of that telos in there
For any pathology
to make
you
the
want.
same point.
Right.
That's all.
But only for the pathologies you want.
I don't want that one.
The rest of human life allows for the possibility of knowing the difference between killing your children or not. I mean, that's just me. So can I just squash that just now? That's me. All right, talk to Peter. I think we need to refill our glasses.
I'll drink to that.
Well, I've let you guys know that, right? I'm not in New Zealand. I'm here and time warped. So it's nice to see you guys on a Sunday night. It's not Monday morning. Right. So
Hey, Peter, I'm sorry. Can Michael hear us right now?
He's in the toilet. So maybe.
I
don't want to rule it out.
We're looking for like a gift idea.
In what sense?
Something that everybody appreciate.
That's so again, my problem. I love Nietzsche. I disagree with him on much of things, but he's got the right reading of everything from Shakespeare, Tacitus, Goethe, everything, except Socrates. He's wrong there, or Plato, Socrates. Forget the gifts. Don't do this. You don't owe Asclepius a calf here, or a cow, or a croc. Don't do that.
You know, I actually think his reading of
The
Christianity.
The only thing you can do for Michael,
Yeah.
the only thing is to make yourself better people. That's the only thing. So don't fuck around with a gift because it's lying.
Huh.
What he insists on is the right gift. Make yourself better people.
Well, I guess I was thinking about gratitude when we're thinking about that. So, yeah, he mentions that a lot. So,
That's mine. That one's mine. Sorry, go on.
no, point taken. Point taken. We were just thinking in a private chat channel about some things.
Neither of us drink a lot, and we haven't seen it in a long time. So you forgive us for not being whatever we weren't.
I mean, we saw the red Solo cups earlier, and
I don't want to do. I'm trying hard.
Yes.
But
Hey, all I can say is I'm extremely grateful to be sharing a drink with Dr. Sugrue. So
Nietzsche doesn't get it. Doesn't get the Phaedo, right? The Phaedo wherever he dies, or the Credo or the Apology, or the Phaedo. The Phaedo, right? He doesn't get it. I think he misses it, and on purpose actually. But whatever, he doesn't get it. That if you're gonna do the right thing by Socrates, and I won't lie. So when Mike's dead, but if I'm alive, is what I would say, because it's conditional, is I've never met someone closer to a true Socratic And Socrates is my guy, and I've never met anyone in my life more. And that means that
I'm trying to be really hard to be a Christian. And the Christians say, well, look, once we find out what you believe, we think you're so heterodox, we don't know what the fuck to do with you. And I say, look, I'm not interested in orthodoxy. I'm interested in orthopraxy.
Yeah, fine. I'll take that. That's okay with me.
Go nuts.
That's enough. Gosh.
I'm a real conversation killer.
I don't drink scotch. This is unbelievably good thing. Whatever it is, it's natural.
It's good
beautiful.
stuff. Yeah.
So the only thing to do is to make the best of yourselves. That's the only thing. That's the only project. That's the only reason.
We must study the science of what to do next. I study that all the time.
But for young people, Michael, who in so many ways measure everything by morals, right? Everything is this the right thing or the wrong thing to do, right? Nietzsche is a great reason to say, yeah.
No.
So say a little bit about that.
No.
Why no?
All right. Well, no, in a lot of different ways. Here's the deal. All right. In your 20s, and you gentlemen will correct me if you think I'm wrong.
They are anyway. Even if they're not, they are.
There is a profound inclination to think that I'm quite a stud because I know a great amount of all kinds of different shit. Well, here's the deal. Assuming you're not the result of some genetic problem, right? By the time you are 35, it will dawn on you that a fair amount of the shit that you were really, really certain about at 25 is wrong. No, I'm not bullshitting you here.
I've lived that.
At 25, look back at you at 15. Don't you want to give the you at 15 the back of your hand?
I have a private journal. I want to like strangle my 15-year-old self. I have evidence of what a fool I was.
Well, your 25, your 35 self will do your 25-year-old self.
Phronesis means that we're judging a reasonable center. I think you're going too far there. Lighten up on yourself. You couldn't be anything other than you were raised to be at 14. That's a fact. So you look at that and say, wow, I had to solve this set of problems, which is really fucked up. Everybody is the inheritor of a certain set of problems. Nobody gets out easy. Nobody gets out alive. Everybody's life is beset by problems. That's not a bad thing. When your problems are all solved, that's the same thing as being dead. So think it over. Make your peace with your problems. I got this, I got this, I got this. It's not like anybody else's problems, but I'm willing to stand up, man up, and shut up and do what it needs doing here, because I'm tired of men deciding that it's really good to be weak and unmanly.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
Go ahead, Peter. Give him your medal.
I want to unman myself.
Back of my hand here.
Come on, unman. Sounds good.
All right, are we done? It's 8:09. It's really late.
They got reading for next week though, so tell them they have.
Oh, okay.
Work.
Crime and punishment. All right, this is intended to fuck up your brain, and it will if you read it properly. Don't fool around. Don't say I'm going to do a little bit here, a little bit there. No, clock out a certain percentage of your week and say I'm going to read this because that's the only way you're going to read this. I used to say to my students, in a kind of threatening fashion, when are these books scheduled to read themselves? The answer is never. So if this is going to get read, you're going to read it, and you're going to read it at some specific time, and you're going to be able to allocate that specific time to the actual week you're living in.
So bring it on, guys. Next
Right.
week.
So I don't want to hear that
fucking man.
or any of that shit. You signed on for this. I am profoundly indifferent to how you feel. Absolutely, perfectly indifferent.
Okay.
All right, it's kind of Buddhistic. Yeah. All right,
All right.
click them off.
Sorry, guys. Before you go, I've been in places where I haven't had good internet connection, so I haven't had a chance to really sort of talk to people, though I would have liked to. But I do have to say, with Dr. Phil, I think Don Quixote, you were talking about the importance of friendship and what Dr. Sugrue meant to you, and that's been very touching. And I think this group has been incredibly meaningful for me because Dr. Sugrue, you talked about humans can only bear so much reality with T.S. Eliot, and something that I try and live by is not falling prey to what T.S. Eliot said with we had the experience, but we missed the meaning. So thank you for being able to sort of help me make sense and not come to certain texts with ideological expectations and weigh and consider things before sort of deciding what I believe in or what I think. So thank you. That's just what I wanted to say. And thank you all, because you've all contributed in very different ways.
Yeah. Thanks. Cheers.
And I'm not drinking whiskey. I'm drinking just sparkling water because I'm Scottish, and if I have one whiskey, I'll end up having 10. So.
Where in Scotland are you?
Oh, I actually live in Philadelphia, but I'm from St. Andrews.
Oh, right. Okay.
So, yeah.
So we switched places.
Yeah, when you were talking about what it's like to live, I was wondering about the culture shock you're going through or stuff you have to put up. So my heart goes out to you, my friend. So,
well, I've lived here for almost 10 years, so I'm used to it.
Okay, well, I'm 3 years in and I'm still getting used to it. So yeah. Anyway. Right. Well, guys, thank you so much. I'll let you go off, but enjoy the rest of your week, and I look forward to the last chat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you guys
See you
next
guys
week.
later.
Take care.
And Moses. Moses, your insights are always some of my favorite.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I
they're-
appreciate it. Thank you.
They're so full of wisdom and just like bring out aspects of the text that I never would have gotten out of it. I'm very sort of an intellectual person, and God knows we have too many of those in the world and too few people who can glean wisdom out of text. So thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate it, and not blowing smoke. I get the same from you and Brett. And something when I was in school that always amazed me is I would do my work, I would go to class, and then there would be other people there that have a completely different interpretation on whatever we're doing, and it was still valid. So I really enjoyed that, and I miss it. So I'm happy to be here with all of you guys. I learned so much from you every week.
Yeah. I put in the last group chat. Me and another guy on the course are reading through the McGophers book. And so if anyone is interested in sort of joining us in that, then I can see if we can organize, depending on how many people are interested, we could see about organizing something on, I don't know, another Teams chat or a Discord server or what have you. But yeah, I just figured I'd put that out there. So I'm wondering, because I put it at the end of the last meeting, so a lot of people had left. I'm wondering if maybe I should send a message sort of midway through next week's meeting, and then just collect a list of names of all the people who are interested. And because we're all on Teams, I can get everyone's email, and then just send out an email to everyone. And then just figure out what works best for people. I guess since we're already all on Teams, creating another Teams page might be the best thing. But it's super informal. We're genuinely just reading through it, and So I mean, you can join in whenever, or.
Evan, do you know how to set up Discord servers? I was just going to say, like, Teams is just buggy, and I think it's kind of quirky, and we don't really own it. It's Genevieve set it up, so I wonder if you could set up a Discord server and send out, have a advertised.
I've never set one up myself. Is there anyone? I was wondering actually, Tanacorn. Well, if anyone has, I've never set up a Discord server. I don't use it that much. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so get us a Discord server so we can all continue this adventure. All right.
If all you guys could send me a quick message just on Teams, that way I have like just a record of all of you guys, and I can send out the emails later.
Yeah. Cool.
Such a great idea. Thank you.
That's a good question. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Give me some time to think about that. And if anyone has any, Moses, you were really good at coming up with a name for the course. So if you want to have a noodle on that, then feel free.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I'll let it kind of process.
Yeah.
Great.
Sweet.
Well, God bless all of you.
Yeah, God bless.
Thank you.
God bless.
Here.